A young Bruce Campbell fan accidentally unleashes a terrible evil into his small town, the town of Gold Lick, and in desperation, he seeks out Bruce Campbell. He kidnaps him, brings him to the small town in the hopes that with his own film experience and in battling evil forces, he'll be able to save the day. And good old Bruce, with a series of misunderstandings, believing this to be sort of a birthday gift, an interactive experience set up by his agent, goes along with the plan to stop this evil force. And there's plenty of funny misunderstandings along the way, and important lessons on what it truly means to be a hero. And that's generally the concept of My Name is Bruce. This is a 2007 film, wide release in 2007, as to my understanding. Like, from what I can remember, I think there was kind of a good chunk of time where this was theatrically exhibited only. Like Bruce Campbell, went from town to town all over the nation, bringing screenings, doing Q&As and stuff like that, until finally it kind of got a wide release. I finally ended up seeing it when it came to video, to DVD. It is directed by Bruce Campbell, produced by him, and written by Mark Verheiden, the brilliant and wonderful writer, Mark Verheiden. And it, of course, deals with a kind of silly concept in which Bruce Campbell plays himself and has to fight the same kind of cheesy monster that he would fight in any number of his movies. And for the most part, I think it does play out this concept well, because it is a tricky thing. I mean, when you have to go this kind of route, maybe you could say meta, sort of, but it is Bruce Campbell playing himself, a version of himself, I guess you could say. At least what maybe any general moviegoer would imagine that guy from the Evil Dead movies to be at this point in his career, some decades later. It is a tricky thing where, I mean, you don't want to make it this kind of vanity project where he's oh so great, like a Chuck Norris sidekicks kind of thing. If you remember that horrible movie, and while it is all in good fun, all kind of a caricature, a fake real version of the character, it does have to acknowledge and conceive of certain truths about Bruce Campbell as Bruce Campbell, the character, I would say. And it is able to do that. And of course, it doesn't kind of hold back in goofing on him quite a bit. Like, that's kind of where you have to confront the truths in it. In that, yeah, he's been in some real, stinkers over the years, some really shitty B movie kind of things. So they definitely don't hold back on that. They fully acknowledge that. Like when we first meet him, he's on the set of Cave Alien 2, a sequel to a real movie called Cave Alien, uh, and having all kind of the atmosphere of a low budget kind of movie where you can kind of like see the cheesy effects in progress, all that kind of stuff. So it definitely hits that well, and it creates this exaggerated version of Bruce Campbell where again they don't hold back. They don't care to make him look exactly, completely winning or anything like that. They make him to kind of a real fucking loser in the movie, which is great. He's hitting on his co-star actress. He's getting turned down. He's hanging out at the bar. He lives in a trailer as well, and he's a complete drunken doofus, guzzling down whiskey, a Shemps brand Tennessee whiskey, and calling his wife or his ex-wife, I should say, at 3 in the morning, whining about his infidelities and his spousal support and all that kind of stuff. So he's a real piece of work in the movie, and a very kind of exaggerated version of what Bruce Campbell may be, as far as the general kind of moviegoer's impression may be. So they do that very well, and even though it is a funny comedy, it's goofy. Obviously, it has a real sense of humor to it. It also does kind of confront a truth in that you know an actor, as supposedly a profession where you want to create art, you want some kind of artistic fulfillment from your work. There's a scene with Bruce Campbell where he's speaking to his agent, and he's kind of a little lost in his career. He's kind of thinking, well, if my work is art, and let's say it's a painting, then at this point has my canvas run dry and things like that. So you kind of think, can an artist, can they really get fulfillment out of making these awful movies? So it kind of confronts that, and that's where he sees this opportunity and this experience that turns out to be very real. He sees that as kind of a nice shot in the arm to his career. So that's what kind of gets this character motivated and interacting with the townspeople of Gold Lick and all that kind of stuff. But of course, once he does realize that this is a very real monster, he shows himself for the coward that he is, and it's that kind of funny, goofy stuff. So again, it's not a serious movie about a tortured artist. It is a goofy comedy, but I think it plays that concept pretty well, and it does kind of go through certain motions where, I mean, it's predictable enough, and where you can expect it to go, and where he finds his courage and stands up to everything and stuff like that. But with a good enough idea to this movie, and having Bruce Campbell play himself, I think I think they've earned enough to not have to go too wild with the concept. Otherwise, maybe it would be just a little too much. Maybe where I do see sort of a fault in the movie, a failing of some kind, probably actually would be in the monster itself. This is something very different. It's an ancient Chinese demon kind of thing. Guandi is the creature's name, and there's a whole elaborate backstory about this town and the Chinese miners and getting caved in and all that kind of stuff, and the young Bruce Campbell fan, him awakening this demon who goes around the town and slices people up and stuff like that. It's an interesting, different kind of thing, which I appreciate on one hand, but I can't help thinking that maybe it wasn't necessarily necessary to go so different of a concept for this movie, since they've already kind of done just enough in the concept alone, and here they try to bring us something different, which again is appreciated, but maybe not entirely necessary. Like I do kind of think that maybe the movie would have been better if they went with something maybe a little bit more standard. Like maybe just maybe if it could have been zombies or something like that. I know it's not really that imaginative or anything like that, but when you think about it, when this movie was made, it was kind of right during the time when the zombie movie was kind of getting this fresh resurgence, and stuff like 28 Days Later and the Dawn of the Dead remake, they're really bringing zombies back, and I think it would have worked better for this movie than this Guandi kind of character. And they have the whole kind of, they open the movie with this whole song about him and stuff like that, and it gets kind of cheesy. So I wasn't especially crazy about the creature of this feature, in all honesty. I mean, altogether the movie works fine, but I think maybe they could have gone something a little bit more standard, and it still would have been just as good, just as fine, working out, and probably would have been. I think it would have been funner to see him, fighting zombies or undead or something like that. Something closer to, say, the stuff from Evil Dead, maybe. Maybe that would have worked better, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. So, you know, the movie itself, it has its own following and lots of fans, particularly Bruce Campbell fans who enjoy the poking fun at himself and enjoy kind of the exaggerated version of him, which is all very funny. And we have quite a few references to his other movies. Like they name off some real movies and they name off some completely fake movies. It's like good luck telling the difference if you're not like intimately aware of his whole career or anything like that. And he has a dog named Sam and Rob, named after Sam Raimi, Robert Tappert of the Evil Dead films. A lot of familiar faces from those films show up, like Ellen Sandweiss, who played the Cheryl character in Evil Dead. She plays the ex-wife named Cheryl as well. And Danny Hicks also appears in the film as one of the townspeople. He's in it as well. And of course, Ted Raimi is in the film, playing three roles, actually. He plays the sleazy agent of Bruce Campbell, an excellent role, very fun, who also happens to be seeing Bruce's ex-wife behind his back, actually, which is its own little weird side joke. And he plays this recurring character, this sign painter who has to come out every time someone gets killed by Guandi, and he has to paint over the population number and reduce it by one each time. And there's one really funny funny final scene with his appearance. And he also plays this a terrible Asian stereotype character, which even for the time 2007. Completely unacceptable. So horrible. Shame on you, Ted Raimi, for playing this character. Horrible, but almost so horrible and inappropriate that it's funny. I mean, whatever. If they can get away with that kind of stuff on, like South Park or whatever, some stupid show, surely they can get away with it here. But dear God, let's not see this character return for any more movies. But Ted Raimi, he's a triple threat in this film. Very talented, very funny guy. He's great. So let's not cancel Ted Raimi too soon. So it's overall it is a good movie with certain problems. I mean the monster itself, whatever, that's fine, that's acceptable. It's different, so it's nice to see something a little bit different with kind of this interesting backstory to it, complete with its own song, of course, and good humor to it. Not all the jokes are winners. There's some jokes that kind of fall a little bit flat. I particularly like a lot of this stuff where like he interacts with the fans. I thought that was pretty funny. They're waiting for him outside the studio, and he's kind of just reacting to them, giving them really blunt answers, and then getting into a kind of confrontation with this guy in a wheelchair and all that kind of stuff. Maybe even more humor like that would have been better, but I thought all that was really funny. So for every joke that doesn't quite work, there's at least double the amount that does. So I'd say it's successful in its comedic aspects, and I think it's a winning concept. I do. It could have been. I do think it could have been a little bit better, but at the time, this kind of felt like maybe it could have been the next best thing to an Evil Dead 4, which now, of course, they've done that. The TV show, the Ash vs. the Evil Dead, so they have his character return. They actually took kind of a fair amount of character traits of the real Bruce Campbell version from this movie and applied it to Ash vs. the Evil Dead, like living in the trailer and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. That they become so almost interchangeable in a weird kind of way. That was great. So it works for the most part. I do think so. I think it's worth seeing if you're an Evil Dead fanatic, if you marathon the movies all the time, you're looking for a little bit more Bruce Campbell action, or if you just love all his movies and you're a big fan, then of course this is a no-brainer. You got to watch this. It's a gem amongst some other really bad B movies. This is a B movie itself, in all honesty, so it kind of fits right into to his filmography. And at the end of it all, I do think that an artist such as Bruce Campbell, he can get fulfillment from this kind of material, from these types of movies, because I mean, really, it is art, but it's entertainment as well. And if you're making people laugh, if you're getting them engaged and involved with the material in any kind of way, I can't think of anything more successful than that. So his canvas, I'm sure, is not quite dry just yet, and we'll have plenty more to enjoy from the great Bruce Campbell for many years to come. I certainly hope. So that's my review. My name is Bruce, doing 31 Days of Horror this month in October. New horror movie reviews every day. Be sure to keep up with those. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And stay scared. And until next time, I'll see you later.